Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery here. It's a beautiful Tuesday morning, November 2nd, 2021. We had a really important training yesterday that hopefully you were either on live or listened to afterwards, where we talked about the funding proposal marketing funnel that has proven to be very successful. And one of our success stories is actually on the webinar today. Renee, if I can approximate correctly, I believe Renee has generated around 200 submissions through the funding proposal.online already. So thank you, Renee, for your great production, and those of you that are interested in using the funding proposal sales channel, sales funnel. We talked about that on yesterday's training. Today, we're going to talk about an opportunity, and there's no cost, so we're not selling you anything, but a leadership role. And I've been around long enough and worked with enough of you that I'm starting to get a feel that some of you really would rather be in a leadership role, overseeing rather than doing, based upon your experience, your education, your skill set. Doing the work is not necessarily what all of you desire to do. And so we are rolling out today, November 2nd, the regional vice president role. And that's what we're going to talk about today and vet through. And again, there's no cost, there's no strings attached, nothing like that. But it's an opportunity to be a leader, to be on our leadership team and earn a great income without, frankly, doing the work. So let's go through that, and feel free, as you have questions, comments, or concerns, to go ahead and post it into the Q&A, the chat box of Zoom. So I did send this notice out to everyone this morning, so hopefully you knew about this very important topic. Originally, we were going to wait and roll this out in January for 2022, but as we heard and observed, many of you that were looking for leadership roles, the ability to earn override income on white label partners, we decided not to delay it till January. So here we go. So our topic today is building a leadership team of regional vice presidents. So this is a new role you've not heard about before. Normally we talk about affiliates and white label partners. Well, above all of them are the regional vice presidents. And again, there's no cost to be a regional vice president, so worry not about that. In synopsis, regional vice presidents, or RVPs, earn overrides from white label partners. We've had some of you who are white label partners that said, hey, I know other people that would like to be white label partners, or I have clients that might like to be a white label partner, but what do I get from that? Well, historically, we just did a simple 50-50 split of the white label partnership role. So when each side gets 50, there's nothing left for overrides. But we worked with an advisory team to put together this model to provide a very significant override, and that's what we're going to go through. So we'll cover the what, why, when, how, and so forth. So let's start with the what. So again, we're looking for individuals who are willing to serve as a regional vice president. There is no cost to become a regional vice president. You do need to be a white label partner yourself to qualify, because what we're doing, it's like I'll give you my example. When I worked for the SBA through the SBDC, Small Business Development Center, so each center has a director, and that's kind of equivalent to a white label partner in this analogy. But then there are regional leaders. So our regional leadership team was out of Dallas. And so that's what we're looking to do. We're growing so quickly. We want to accomplish two things. We want to build some hierarchy, so we have a leadership team that's supporting the white label partners and getting paid for that. And then also to be able to continue to grow our distribution model, giving you an opportunity to earn override income. Okay, and so as I mentioned before, alluded to, our regional vice presidents will really be our leadership team. These are the top leaders in the organization. You might say, well, what exactly does a regional vice president do? I understand there's no cost, but what do they do? Well, there's really two primary functions. The first of which is to develop And the second of which is to oversee a team of white label partners. And so what we want to do is add at least one new white label partner per week per RVP. Well, that's not difficult to do at all, is it? Right? We've added hundreds of white label partners without this type of structure. And white label partners don't pay anything either. So it's not like, oh, I've got to go sell vacuums door to door. We're just looking for entrepreneurs who are interested in helping others with the white label partner model. Okay, so that's the what. In terms of the why, well, the reason why you might want to become a regional vice president is to earn extra income, to earn override income on the production of the white label partners on your team. And we have an economic model down at the bottom of the page we'll go through to describe that. We'd like to have at least one regional vice president per state. And again, we're not selling territories. There's no charge. There's no strings attached to be a regional vice president. But from a model, we'd like to have at least one RVP per state who is focused on developing white label partners in their state. Could they recruit someone from a different state? They could. Again, this is not a franchise. It's not a paid for opportunity, but the goal is to have at least one per state that has a focused effort on developing relationships in that state, but they're not exclusive to that state. In other words, they could bring on white label partners elsewhere. So in the short term, our goal is to bring on 50 regional vice presidents. You might say, well, that's a lot. Well, we've got hundreds of white label partners. And so this is creating an organizational chart whereby eventually I anticipate, well, going forward, all new white label partners will be coming under a regional vice president. Obviously, we have white label partners already. We're not going to alter their agreements, but going forward, the only way to become a white label partner will be to be under a regional vice president. How to become, as my screen doesn't want to scroll down here for whatever reason, how to become a regional vice president. Real simple, real simple. And the page will scroll up here as soon as the computer gets caught up. Looks like it's doing an update. But all you need to do is just email me and let me know the state that you want to be responsible for. Again, as a regional vice president, can you only add white label partners in that state? No, but that should be a great concentration to make sure that we build out a national footprint. We know that white label partners can help clients find that catches up anywhere in the country, but having a state-by-state presence is going to help us grow in a more even fashion. So what you would do if you want to become a regional vice president, just simply email me. We need to know the state that you're wanting to run, and then we need to know your production expectations for this month. You know, of course, we're going to continue it beyond this month, but we don't want to take some long-term outlook at the sacrifice of let's get some short-term results. So you would just email us and let us know how many white label partners you think you can bring and how many clients. We know each white label partner should generate at least 8 clients a month after a 30-day grace period, but we want to see your production, because what we don't want is a bunch of people raising their hands and, oh yeah, I'll be that RVP, that's free, that sounds kind of cool, that's extra money, and then there's not a diligent effort. I can tell you, and you may agree or disagree with this, and I respect that, but there's a number of you. Take Bruce for example. Bruce has been with us quite a while, and Bruce has brought on hundreds and hundreds of clients, maybe thousands. I don't know offhand, but Bruce has brought on hundreds and hundreds of clients. If Bruce were simply to go ask his current clients, hey, you know, we are looking for some white label partners. It's a great side gig, doesn't cost you anything. Earn an adult income by helping small businesses access capital. I bet you that at least 25% of his current client base would say, yeah, I'm interested in that. I could throw a little time at this if I could earn some extra income and help people. So what's the point? The easiest place to find white label partners is from your existing client base, because they're already entrepreneurs, right? That's why they're in the access to capital. Now, maybe they're plumbers, maybe they're bakers, maybe they're accountants or engineers or what have you, but at the core, they're entrepreneurs. And so if you could offer them an opportunity with no cost, not MLM, not network marketing, not Ponzi, but they could become a white label partner, earn an adult income as a side gig, I'm telling you, at least 1 out of 4, I would expect would say yes. So it's really, really easy, really easy to generate white label partners. We've proven that. All right, so if you'll email me and let me know your interest, your state, your expectations for November this month, then we'll get you approved within 24 hours. And then, I mean, we're going to get started. We need to start building out the white label partners, because they're the ones that do the work. As a regional vice president, you're the boss. You're overseeing it, but you're not the worker, you're the overseer. And so we need the workers, the white label partners that are actually out producing. The nice thing is you get to select who you want to work with. And then what you'll do, because you may be saying, well, how's the mechanics of this work? And we spent a lot of time on this, and this is what the advisory team came up with. I think it's pretty slick, and it's easy, and it puts you in control. So you can't beat that. Slick, easy, you're in control. So for each white label partner that you're bringing in, you're going to have a joint venture agreement with. And that joint venture agreement will clarify the revenue split between them and you. So you're kind of their management consultant, if you will. You're controlling the state. If they want to be a white label partner, then they enter into a joint venture agreement with you. And so normally you would just do a 50-50 revenue split with them. If you wanted to take 80 and give them 20, you could, but normally 50-50 is the norm. You can decide if you want to be a silent partner or an active one. Some of you are like really good with QuickBooks. So you might say, okay, as you're a joint venture partner, I'll handle the QuickBooks and the accounting. Maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe you're really good at lead development. Maybe you want to do that for the joint venture. Maybe not. Maybe all you're doing is just essentially controlling the market, the state. But it's up to you what you have in your joint venture agreement with the white label partners that you bring on. I know that people are going to ask for the agreements. And so I'm a paralegal. I'm not an attorney. And so as a paralegal, if I give you legal advice, that's called unauthorized practice of law, and I could go to jail for that. So I'm not going to give any legal advice, but I can certainly let you know that you can get templates to set up joint venture agreements online, and 2 sites, and we have no financial interest in these, no conflict of interest, but Rocket Lawyer or Law Depot are 2 places that you can go on and search a joint venture agreement and come up with one that you could use as a template with the white label partners that you're adding to your team. Super simple. Once you have them under agreement, then you'll go ahead and submit them on the white label partner page. And just like normal, then we'll send them the Adobe white label license agreement to them. So they're contracted with us. So let's say that you do a deal with them and they fizzle out. They don't produce. Are you somehow on the hook with us? Absolutely not, because they're the ones that contracted with us. So they're responsible for the 8 a month. You're contracted with them. Thus, they're responsible to you for the 50-50 revenue split. So again, this is what the advisory team recommended. We don't want you to take on liability by doing this. And you're not, right? Because if that white label partner comes aboard and we're supporting them and you're supporting them and they do nothing and they go into default, is that your problem? No, it's their problem. So it's set up to put you in the revenue stream. You can decide, but normally a 50-50 revenue split, and we'll look at the economic model here at the bottom of the page in a moment, without any cost to you and without any liability. Pretty slick, right? All right, so let's look at the economic model, then we'll get to all the questions that's popping up, which are good. Keep putting them in, please. So we know that white label partners have a responsibility to generate at least 8 access to capital clients per month. That's the standard performance agreement that we have in the white label agreement. Any of you that are white label partners, that's what you've promised to do. Any that would be coming on under your regional vice president role, they're going to have the same white label partner agreement. So nothing has changed there. So it's good that we have some predictability of volume, because now we can anticipate income. If there's no predictability of volume, how would we know what type of income you might make or expect to make? Well, and so you see the number 8 in each of these sub bullets. That's because it's built off of the production minimum that each white label partner will bring in, 8. Well, and there's flexibility in how you want to advise your white label partners, but I'm just going to assume that you're going to work with them and implement our standard access to capital agreements. I know that you could change that, but if what you're doing is collecting $2,500 from each client from their first tranche capital raise for the deposit, then there is, is that math right? So that should have been 2,500 times 8. So yeah, so my math is off there. So technically there's $20,000 coming in, and then 10,000 is the half that the white label partner keeps. So sorry for the confusion on that. And then second, if the performance fee is set at 10%, 10% of 100,000 is 10,000. That's done 8 times, and then that's 8,000 in performance fees. And then the key person policies are normally about 1,000 a piece. 8 of those, another 8,000. So my math is slightly off here, but the approximation of 100,000 is a good guideline. Each white label partner should be generating 100,000 a month by creating 8 access to capital relationships. Now, does all the cash come in up front? Of course not, right? But we talked about accrual accounting, we talked about posting accounts receivables and so forth. So each white label partner, the business model should be generating right around $100,000 of gross revenue per month. Well, if you're getting half of their half, that of course is 25%, the 50-50 split we talked about. So that puts right at 25,000 a month in your pocket. Well, I mean, that's fair. That's probably not going to change your lifestyle much, but it's a nice side income. You might say, well, how much time is it going to take? It shouldn't take a lot of time, because the white label partner should be doing the work. You are providing the guidance, the oversight, but you're not the worker unless somehow you decided to become an active partner, which is your decision. But this model isn't predicated on that. So 25,000 a month per white label partner under your joint venture, not bad. But what we want to do is have a steady stream of growth. And so it gets us to the second bullet, which is we want to add for each regional vice president at least 1 new white label partner per week, which is super simple to do, because frankly, just out of the 8 new clients, again, using the statistic we talked about earlier, that on average, at least 25% of clients will become a white label partner, that's going to easily exceed your numbers. So at the end of 1 month, by adding 1 a week, obviously, if there's 4 weeks in the month, now you're at $100,000 monthly for you. Now we're talking adult income. And where does that come from? That's the 25,000 times 4. Okay, so I'm going to shrink this down so we can see the whole page, hopefully. And then we're going to drill into the questions that each of you have, because there's a bunch of great questions. So Zahn asked, as a regional vice president, can you still run your own white label shop? Absolutely. So that we want regional vice presidents who are also white label partners themselves, So they've gone through the training, they understand how it works, and they can be a resource for the white label partners they're bringing on their team. So absolutely. So you can continue to be a white label partner, or I guess you could even turn around and sell your partnership if you wanted. But the goal is to have regional vice presidents who are white label partners, because that experience is important. Thank you, Zahn, for asking that. Pierre asked a question. So we're not making any change. So to those of you who are current white label partners, there's no change. And we're going to give a little bit of a grace period. So any of you that are not a white label partner yet, but you want to become one and you want to get the full 50-50 split, then I would recommend that you go ahead and get that done today, because we're going to soon no longer allow white label partners to come in direct. They're going to come in under regional vice presidents based upon the state that the person is in, as long as we have a regional vice president in that state. So again, we need to have a RVP in each state. You might say, well, I live in Montana, but I really want Washington State. It doesn't matter to us. You just need to pick a state that you want to run. I know some of you are very ambitious and will say, well, I want multiple states. Well, that's going to increase, because for each state that you're running, which again costs nothing, the expectation is that you're adding at least one new white label partner per week. So let's say someone is super ambitious, and let's say Beatrice owns 3 businesses in Houston. She's a client of ours, and so she's a fast mover. So let's say Beatrice came to us after today's Zoom and said, I want all 50 states. Well, Beatrice, that would mean you would need to add 50 new white label partners per week. So instead of that, what we're saying, let's start with one state, pick the state that you want to be the RVP in. Let's create some momentum, and let's finish out November. If you can bring on 4 or more, then we can start to look at expanding. I mean, we want to reward success, but we want to also create caution of setting up some overbearing expectations of running a national program. So Pierre, the answer to your question is no change to those of you that are currently on board. It wouldn't be fair to come back and say, oh, by the way, you just got your comp cut in half. So that's not going to happen. Helen, good morning, Helen asks, do we still have to do 8 clients monthly? That's a good point. So we do need all white label partnerships to be consistent and compliant with the model, which is at least 8 clients a month. But of course, if you felt that you wanted to just focus, and Helen, you came to mind as far as someone that maybe didn't have much time to do the work, but great skills, relationships, and aptitude to lead. If you wanted to sell your white label partnership to someone else, then they can take over the production, and then you could focus on being an RVP full-time. I don't mean full-time, but exclusively, rather than juggling your own white label partnership yourself. So each white label partner does need to hit the 8 a month, just as we said in the agreement. But if you don't want to be a white label partner anymore, you don't have to be. You can transfer that to another person. They run the white label partnership, and then you could focus on the RVP role if you want. Hopefully that was better stated. All right, and Damon asked, yes, so we're definitely going to create a community and interactions and networking of this leadership team, and it'll be a closed group of the RVP. So Damon, you're reading our mind exactly. So that way we can share best practices and success stories. And as the market continues to open, I do expect that we'll have quarterly in-person think tank sessions. We'll pick up the tab for that. So yes, there'll be a lot of interaction amongst the RVPs. Thank you, Damon, for that. Pierre says, thanks, you're welcome. Pierre's going back to the question of, so we're going to ask you initially, pick one state. And let's go have a really good month in November in that one state. And so those of you that then want to expand and manage multiple states, absolutely. We just need results. But let's start with one state, Pierre. You pick the state. Let's knock it out of the park in November, and then we can expand based upon production. Thank you for asking. He says he meant more than one VP per state. And so that's certainly possible. For instance, going back to the SBA, SBDC model, in Texas, for example, the SBA has 2 state directors. And you'd say, well, how does that happen? Texas is one state. Well, it's a big state. There's a lot of population. And so, yes, there could be more than one RVP per state. But the goal right now is to get one RVP per state. All right, so the next question is, does the responsibility to collect profit split joint venture as RVP fall to the RVP? Oh, okay. So that's a great question, Pete. So keep in mind that there are 2 agreements. We're going to contract with the white label partner using the same agreement we have now, using the same model that we have now. And then you're going to have an agreement. Think of it kind of as a management agreement with them, whereby you have a joint venture agreement with them that states whatever you're going to provide for them. And maybe it's just advice or oversight. Again, that's up to you. And you can use a template from either of these sites or wherever you want, and it'll state what your revenue split is. So you're, again, Pete, you're not on the hook. If you're an RVP, you're not on the hook if the white label partners that you bring on are not producing. It's not your liability. It's not your liability. And I would encourage you to leave it that way. So that way you don't have the liability. So if they only produce 6 in a month, or they don't produce any in a month, are you somehow in trouble? Are you somehow penalized? Are you somehow invoiced? No. No. Now, we need to figure out what's going wrong, because we're going to need to make sure that we're finding white label partners that will produce, but you have no economic risk. With that being said, then, how you want the revenue to flow based upon how you have your joint venture agreement is between you and them. You might set up a new entity, an LLC, for example, that you open a bank account and all the revenue from that white label goes into that bank account. You might want to just keep it simple, where they have their own bank account and you're just invoicing them for your portion. That is up to you. We're going to allow each joint venture partner to run their state, their business the way that they want. But certainly there are agreement templates that are accessible. All right, so Zahn asks, will you keep track of our white label partner deals so we make sure we're getting paid? Absolutely. Yeah. So you'll certainly be notified every time that there is a commissionable event, so you're not blindsided. And I would suspect, Zahn, you and others that are going to be RVPs will also have some protection written in your joint venture agreements. All right. So Spencer asked, are you going to change the videos? Well, no, the white label partnership agreement is going to stay the same. I don't believe it's going to change a single word. So how people become white label partners, they'll submit in here. We'll look to see what state they're in. And then if they didn't come in from that regional VP, then we're going to send them over to that regional VP. The regional VP then will secure a joint venture agreement with them, and then we'll be able to execute their white label partner. So that is, so as we get orphaned leads that come in, those will be steered to you, but that's not the intent of where most of the volume will come from, because we've talked about the primary role of the regional vice presidents is to develop and oversee a team of white label partners. And so it's not real demanding. It's not very difficult. And since white label partners do not have to pay anything to become a white label partner, it's not a challenging issue, but that is the focus. And you're paid remarkably well. How much are you paid? Well, it's a function of 2 things, isn't it? You're going to decide what your revenue split is with your white label partners. That's up to you. 50-50 is pretty equitable, but that's up to you. And then, of course, that's going to also be impacted by their volume. So your job would be then to guide them and direct them and encourage them to remain compliant. And as long as they can just be minimally compliant, remember, a lot of you are doing so much more than minimally compliant. This isn't about just having an aspiration of only 8 a month, but as long as we have each white label partner hitting at least 8 a month, then you're doing really well. And again, I know some of you are big hitters, and an extra $25,000 a month is laughable, but that's from each white label partner. So at the end of month 1, we have 4 white label partners. So that's 100,000 a month. Well, remember, and I ran out of space at the bottom of the page. What happens in month 2? Well, now you have 8 white label partners, each spitting off 25,000 a month. So this doubles in month 2, as long as everyone is hitting their numbers, which that's what you're there to do, is help them hit their numbers. So now it's 200,000 for you in month 2. What happens in month 3? Well, there's 8 more clients enrolled, so this continues to build. So, how are you going to get rich off this? I don't know. I mean, you should if you implement this model as it's designed, but it's really about you. Are you going to pick the right white label partners? Are you a good leader? Are you a good coach? Are you a good mentor? You don't have to do the work. You don't have to go enroll clients. You don't have to mentor clients. You don't have to do all the dirty work. You don't have to roll up your sleeves and put your hands in the mud, but you need to be a good leader. And if you make a good leader, you follow these numbers, it's extraordinary. And again, this is not a paid for business opportunity. You don't have to sign an agreement with us to become a joint venture partner. You do not have to commit to certain performance numbers. You don't have to pay anything. It's just simply following this model so we can go help more entrepreneurs, because we're growing so quickly, which is a good problem to have. We've got to create some more infrastructure. So it's time now to have a layer on the organizational chart above the white label partners. We have hundreds and hundreds of white label partners, which is awesome. Some are very active, some not so much so. So this is an opportunity to bring you in a leadership role with no cost, really no risk, and the opportunity to help us accomplish our goal with no investment, no risk. All right, so Juanita asked, our white label partners will have to sign an agreement. Well, yeah. So the white label partners will sign 2 agreements under this model. They'll still sign the same model with us. So our agreement with them hasn't changed at all. And then they're also going to sign that joint venture agreement with you that you're going to set up, most likely getting off of Rocket Lawyer or Law Depot or wherever you want. It can be as complicated as you want it to be. It can be as simple as you want it to be. That is your discretion. And again, I apologize. I can't give legal advice because as a paralegal, I would be breaking the law. So I cannot give legal advice to others. But these resources can make it plug and play, so it's not going to be painful for you. All right, and so Juanita asks, I think Juanita's going to become, Juanita, forgive me, which state are you going to be the RVP for, if you'll respond back? But she's talking about how she's going to coach her white label partners to avoid unpaid invoices. And so we're going to support you in that, but it's pretty simple. So when a client gets funding, Juanita, what you're going to want that white label partner to do, and you're going to want to encourage them to do, is to invoice the client. Collecting money starts with creating an invoice to the client to say, this is what you owe and why. So are you going to have to do that, Juanita? No, your white label partner will do it unless you're wanting to do it for them. And so then not only send an invoice, but then you would probably encourage your white label partner who just had a client that got cash funding to pick up the phone and call the client. Hey, Damon, congratulations on your cash capital raise. I see that you got $28,500 for your first tranche financing. That is awesome. I want to let you know, take a look in your email. I just sent you over an invoice for the performance fee and the refundable deposit that we've agreed on when you enrolled. Please process that within 2 days. Otherwise, there's going to be daily late fees occurring. Right? So all you're doing, Juanita, is being a manager, being a teacher, being a mentor, and helping your white label partners stay on top of things, but you're not forced to do the work. Okay. And New York is an awesome market, Juanita. Thank you for clarifying that. So again, in summary, as we wrap up, the regional vice president is a new role. It's not a paid for role. It doesn't cost you anything. There's not even an agreement you need to sign with us. It's just simply based upon performance. Your agreement will be with each of the white label partners that you bring aboard. They will sign a joint venture agreement with you. They'll sign the normal agreement with us. You might say, well, I don't have a joint venture agreement. Well, that's why we provided you, if I can highlight it properly, a couple sites. You don't have to go to these sites. You can go wherever you want. It can be just as simple, or it can be very complicated. That's up to you, because you're running the joint venture model. You will bring on at least one white label partner per week. And then together, we're all working together to go help entrepreneurs through these white label partners. And we want to make sure that each of your white label partners stays compliant with at least 8 deals per month. Again, you might say, well, what risk do I have as a joint venture partner if the white label partner doesn't produce? 0. You have no risk. You have no economic risk. Now, if together we can't get your white label partners to produce minimally, then something's wrong, right? And we may not be able to continue the relationship if we can't find white label partners that produce, because this is a very low threshold. But great questions. There's no strings attached. It's an innovative model to put you at the top of the hierarchy with no cost and no risk, but plenty of reward. And that's a pretty good position to be in, right? No cost, no risk, lots of reward. And I think this is going to be a really good fit for a number of you who are busy and competent, but just don't necessarily want to do all the work, because there's a fair amount of work. We got Philip, and he's not online now. Philip's a great guy. Love Philip. He's producing. He's a top 10. He's not our top producer. He's top 10. And I think he came aboard early October. He's probably at 60 or 70 clients, conversions, not leads. So Philip is a producer. But Philip really just loves generating clients. He does not really want to do all the mentoring. He used to run a call center. He has that aura about him to be a producer, and really doesn't want to be a worker. And there's nothing wrong with that. So this is an opportunity for those of you that would rather be a leader rather than a worker, be able to still help us accomplish our mission, what we're trying to do, help small businesses build financial literacy, build loan packages, access capital, and there's just no cost. There's no strings attached. It's beautiful. Zahn's asking for a copy of the sheet. Absolutely, we can get that out. Anyone else have any questions? It's almost one of those things you look at twice and say, well, wait, that doesn't make any sense. But you always want to look at the economic incentives. What's in it for us? Why are we bringing this to you? We're growing quickly. We need to have another layer on the org chart. We need a leadership team. And the easiest way for us to do that is to appoint a regional vice president per state, 50 states. Now, are all states of equal size and equal opportunity? Probably not, right? Wyoming's probably not going to produce as much as what Juanita is going to generate in New York State. I understand that, but you can pick whatever state that you want. Frankly, if you have a white label partner relationship elsewhere, you can do that. You're not locked into that state. We're not selling territories, but the primary focus is building out white label partners in your dedicated state. Does anyone else have any questions that we didn't cover? Because it's a really big deal for those of you that are looking to generate significant income without investment, without risk, based upon leadership. And that's really it. Timothy's asking, is this full-time? No, it doesn't need to be full-time at all. This could be very much a part-time side gig. I think it'll probably take less time than what you've spent as a white label partner, because you're now not juggling the balls of developing clients and mentoring clients. Instead, what you're focused on is developing and supporting white label partners who are obviously competent, motivated professionals. So again, one more time, just to clarify, the process is described here. If you want to become a regional vice president, doesn't cost anything, email us, let us know which state you want, and let us know what your production expectations are for this month. We don't want some rosy picture of what it's going to look like 16 months from now. Just how many white label partners can you anticipate bringing on this month? If it's not at least 4, we're not off to a very good start, right? Because the goal is at least 1 per week. And then how many clients? Well, you know the formula, right? We're looking for each white label partner to be compliant and generate at least 8 clients a month. So if we brought on 4 white label partners, now granted they get a 1-month grace period, but ignoring that for a moment, 4 times 8 is 32. So we should generate at least 32 clients in the month of November. Well, what's that going to do for you? Pretty damn good month, right? There's a lot of people in our society that don't make $100,000 a year, and this should generate at least that per month for you with no cost, no risk. I don't know how to make it any better. Any other questions that any of you have before we conclude today? And yes, I'll get this sheet out, as several of you have asked for. All right, Juanita asks, how much will each white label partner make per month? Well, that's a great question. If you're doing a 50-50 split, revenue split with your white label partners, which is up to you, Juanita, right? You control that because you control the joint venture agreement template you give them. You're contracting with them. So, but if you're doing a simple 50-50 split, if you're making $25,000 a month per white label partner, so in other words, you're doing an even split with them, how much would they make? They would make also $25,000. So that's the answer to your question, is if a white label partner comes aboard under this model, under your leadership, following this formula, they're going to make $25,000 a month and you're going to make $25,000 a month. Pretty fair, 50-50 split. All right. Well, thanks, everyone. Let us know if you'd like to get plugged in on the leadership team, and we'll see you back here tomorrow morning. Have a great day. Bye-bye.